Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 9 of the Food Stories of Hope and Inspiration. And you'll be very thankful to see that it's not going to be a monologue from me. I am actually joined by a special guest, and that special guest is Abby. Abby, welcome.
Hi.
Today's story is about a busy mum. Now, let me guess, why did I invite you? Tell me about yourself. Are you a busy mum by any chance?
Yeah, I am. Hi everyone. My name is Abby, and yeah, I'm a busy mum of one. I now have a 15-year-old boy, who's eats me out of house and home. I work for the NHS as an administrator, which you can imagine at the moment, particularly, is super busy. And that's me, really.
Fantastic. And I saw Natty a bit earlier. He's getting taller every time I see him. So you did my program, Discover Dutch Cuisine, over the summer. But initially, you didn't think it was for you, did you? Why is that?
I don't know, really. I think probably partly because of not knowing what to expect, not knowing whether it was something I really wanted to do, whether I needed to do it, and cooking had become something that I needed to do rather than I wanted to do. You talk about those kind of pressures that mums have of, this huge pressure involved in coming up with 3 meals a day, every day. And so I kind of thought, I'm not really sure I have the time to do this. Yeah, so I think it's, those are all pretty typical arguments, I think, that we all find, not to do things.
Absolutely. And some of them are real things, as in real reasons, but a lot of them are, yes, excuses sometimes, because when you're busy, there's so much, like as your hobbies, there's his hobbies. And as you say, 3 meals a day, especially with the year we've just had, is like, oh my God, I need this pressure. But you did join in the end.
Blocks that we put in the way. Yeah.
Yeah. So
sorry, I was just saying that they are blocks that we put in the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we allow those, right? So you did join. And what you mentioned already, you didn't know what to expect, but what did you find? What did you find once you joined?
Oh, it was so much fun. So much fun. I didn't really know what I was going to get out of it. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was going to get, a cookery lesson, or whether it was going to be demonstrations, or, had absolutely no idea. Actually, the whole thing was, although there are recipes, lots of recipes, but it was also much more community-based, more fun.
Mm-hmm.
So it was about not so much cooking alongside you, but actually having those recipes and going away and having a go. Knowing that you had another meeting to come to the following week where you could talk about what had happened, good, bad, whether you'd done it or not, to listen to other people. And if it was a recipe you didn't want to make, you also didn't have to make it. So
exactly,
it was kind of a mixture of everything. And what was lovely is they weren't scriptive either. So there was there might be a recipe. But actually, what I discovered when we joined the kind of Facebook community for the course, is that different people had slightly different variations of the recipes that were given, because it was either something that they remembered from when they were a kid, something that a friend of theirs had told them, something that they had experienced. And so people would come back and say, well, yeah, I made this, but actually I added a bit of this, or I cooked mine this way, and mine looked like this. And mine, and you just had the weird and the wonderful. Everyone came together. So although you had a recipe base, so you had all this other stuff.
Things. A real community and inspiring and supporting each other and saying this went wrong or whatever. And so one of the main reasons I think you joined, Abby, you do actually have some Dutch blood, don't you?
my dad was Dutch, and I had a huge Dutch family. So there were lots and lots of food things that I remember, you know, growing up. Whenever I went to Holland, and my dad was a real
foodie as well. He loved his food.
Fabulous.
And all kinds of food. So there was, and I think I was drawn to, of course, because it had a Dutch base to it. It was Dutch cookery, but it also brought in things like, you know, some of the Indonesian stuff, which, you know, is really important in Dutch cookery.
Yes, very much so.
And there were certain things I wanted to know about, just things like, you know, poffertjes, which, you know, and
yeah, we'll come back to poffertjes. We have to, you know, we have to come back to poffertjes, but go ahead.
We have to. Worcestershires, things like that, you know, things that I grew up with as a kid. But also my mum used to make things like nasi goreng, you know, those kind of Indonesian things I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, just really nice to have, you know, tackle some of those dishes. Some of them I hadn't made before, like nasi. I had made before, never made it this way. And it was completely different. And it was just gorgeous, and I'm never going back.
Poffertjes. The exploding batter. Do you want to take us through that, Abby?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
You were cooking with Natty with your son, right? If I remember.
We had decided that, you know, we knew that poffertjes were coming up. I've never made them before. I have had them in Holland when I was a child. I hadn't had them for years until we started having Christmas markets. And then they started selling them in the Christmas market. And then, of course, it was one of those, oh, I remember these. I haven't made these before. And so when I said, you know, poffertjes would be a nice thing to tackle, and you know, you said, yeah, you know, we are actually going to be making them. Really excited. Now, I'd never worked with yeast before, so I bought my first packet of yeast to do this. And there was a crucial bit in the recipe that said you had to mix it all up. You know, once you'd done that, you had to leave it to rest. I don't know how long you were supposed to leave it to rest. So I had to put it somewhere where it could sit. I've got 2 dogs that are real pilfering poopers. They will steal anything.
In my defense, by the way, the recipe does say about an hour, but carry on.
A minute, just read the recipe.
It's a good start. It's always a good way to start. Yep, carry on. So what happened? You put it somewhere. Where did you put it?
So I put it in the oven, you know, just so that it would be just in that environment and away from the dogs. And then I got called away with work. I, you know, got called away with Natty. I had to pick him up from school. Anyway, it was in there longer than an hour. When I opened the oven door, get it out, oh my God. The whole thing had exploded all over the inside of the oven. There was batter everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And so I got it out, and I managed to scrape things together. And I'm thinking, that'll be fine, that'll be fine. Of course, I then did try to actually cook the poffertjes. And of course, they didn't rise at all. They went flash as a pancake. They tasted awful because they tasted really yeasty. And I didn't know what had gone wrong. So, of course, that was my cue to think it's time to fess up. So I kind of took a deep breath, went online, posted my picture of my exploding batter to say I'm no good at this. And what was hilarious is that loads of people started saying, oh, that happened to me too. I didn't want to say, but that happened to me too.
People had kept it in the fridge overnight and then tried to. So then on the Q&A, because we do a live Q&A, right, every week throughout the course. Haven't seen all the pictures. We then talked about this, didn't we, Abby? And you learned, because you'd never worked with yeast, that there is such a thing as overproving something.
Yeah.
And that had happened because you're busy. This is why we're talking about this. You were called away. It was probably in there for, what, 3 or 4 hours or something. The yeast had nowhere left to go. The yeast had already gone all over your oven, right? Mm-hmm. Read the recipe. Don't overprove or over-rest it. Read the recipe again and then put it in your fridge overnight. But as you say, what was so lovely is that all these other people started fessing up. So you were like, I'm not alone. Thank God it wasn't just me.
I think that's really important, actually, is that, you know, whatever mess up you've made, is that you won't be the only one who's done it. You know, there will be someone out there who has done exactly the same thing. And I just, if I hadn't posted that picture of my complete and utter, mess up,
Disaster.
I wouldn't have known that there were other people out there, and we probably wouldn't have asked the question, which
Correct.
we did. So
Correct. I know, right? But on the other hand, I also have to, well, I don't have to fess up. I in the first week, I did a live cooking demo making poffertjes. I hadn't properly seasoned my poffertjes pan. It's one of those cast iron ones. And as the live demo went on, this is why we have to talk about poffertjes and exploding batter. I was being filmed, this is live, right, with people watching me and watching the replay. My kitchen got filled with more and more and more smoke. And I have one of those fancy fire alarms that says, there's smoke in the hallway. There's smoke in the hallway. I am going to go off in a minute. There's smoke in the hallway. And I was just talking through this with everyone that was watching me live, just laughing their heads off, basically. It happens to the best of us. I then didn't do live demos anymore for that particular program. And then afterwards, people saying, why weren't there more live demos? I thought, because anyway, that was one of the reasons. So that's all about poffertjes. And I think we also, every week, I teased out a thought of the week, usually around food memories, food sharing, and what it meant to you. And Abby, you've actually got apart from the Dutch leg in one country, you're in England now, but the Dutch leg in one country, you have had a Spanish leg in Spain as well, didn't you? Which is also food related. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'd lived in Spain for the first 16 years of my life. My father was Dutch, but he worked for a travel agency and as a guide. And so, every 6 months to 3 years, he used to get moved around somewhere else. And Mum and I used to just kind of fell behind. So we lived in lots and lots of different places. They tended to be Spanish speaking. They could be anywhere in Europe, whether it was Balearic Islands, Canary Islands. We went to Mexico at 1.3 years. So, there's a kind of, and of course with my dad being such a foodie as well, that there was this really rich theme of food as a culture, as a way of life. That food was not something that you just ate alive. Food was something to be enjoyed, something to be shared,
explored, shared. Yes.
And from a very young age, my mum and dad were always very sort of, try this, try this, try this, try this, and my tastes kind of developed. Because I can remember there were things I didn't like when I was younger, things like curry. I remember I used to come home and kind of say, what's that smell? And my mum would be making curry, but then she'd give it to me and I feel, no, I don't like that. The smell. And then, of course, as you get older, your taste buds change, and then suddenly it's like, oh, wow, there's a whole new thing that's opened. But Spanish food, which is very garlicky, lots of fish, lemon, lots of coriander and parsley and things that are fresh tastes.
We talked about that in the course a little bit as well, didn't we? We talked about how different cuisines tend to have a different flavor profile. So if you like a certain cuisine, then that's the kind of things you go to, like an Indian cuisine. We know those spices, herbs, etc. work particularly well there. As you say, Spanish cuisine has, the saffron, the freshness, seafood often. Italy is different again. So, and then when we did the Indonesian bit in our Discover Dutch Cuisine program, that's where you rediscovered, I guess, some of those Indonesian flavors that brought you back to your food memories from the Netherlands. But more importantly, you learned to make them yourself, right? There's a particular dish, I think.
Yeah.
I am s'more. Tell me about I am s'more.
Well, it's funny because I remember going to Dutch supermarkets and buying the little Conimax, little tubs of paste that you could mix into kind of stir-fry type things and coat meat and things. And I am s'more was one of those. But I'd never made it until I joined you for that course, and oh my God, it's actually so simple. It looked like it might be really complicated, you know, when you actually see the finished dish. It really wasn't. Just delicious. And my testimony to that is, having made it a couple of times already, you know, as a dinner, is that my son brought a couple of friends of his one day. He had 2 mates come around for dinner and PlayStation, and you know, and they wanted something to eat, and I thought, rather than give them, you know, pizza, which is what you usually do, but I'm going to make some s'more, and I made this huge platter, 12 chicken legs, with on a big plate of just plain boiled rice. I didn't make it any more complicated than that, but it was like with all these chicken legs all piled up on top. It's a massive dish.
These are teenagers you're cooking for, though. I get it.
Teenagers, you know, 14 at the time, and I put it up in the room, you know, and I kind of lumped it in the middle of the room. 15 minutes later, they came downstairs carrying an empty dish. All 12 chicken legs had gone, and one of them was saying to my son, "Atty, I like this restaurant. Can I come back here again?"
Winner, chicken dinner. Well done,
It was
Abby.
a total hit.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I love it.
Legs and a huge plate of rice. So you know, so that kind of dish is great. It's big, it's hearty. It actually wasn't that spicy as such. It was just delicious.
And remember, before you were a bit anxious about cooking, you know, 3 times a day, and you wouldn't necessarily
I wouldn't have thought
explore
about
those things or thought about it. It looked too daunting, and then you did it. And I think you said in one of your messages afterwards to me that you now actually enjoy, well, when the shops are open again properly, you actually enjoyed going into a local Asian supermarket and saying, "Oh, what's this? Maybe I can try this." Is that actually right? Is that true?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, wow.
Absolutely. And certain things have now become staples in the cupboard. So things like soy sauce and Tabasco and things like that. But you know, ketchup mayonnaise, as a result of the I Am S'more, has become, you know, the other staple that's in the cupboard. You know, it's a new flavour because it's similar to soy sauce, but it's much sweeter, and absolutely delicious and all sorts of things. So yeah, so there's all these kind of, you know, new things. And the other thing that it's done for me, which is that, you know, I have a lot of cookery books. They have sat on shelves for as long as I can remember. And I think because I'd got myself into a bit of a rut, you know, where cooking the same thing, cooking things that are quick, it's not really, I'd stopped enjoying cooking. And I was just kind of going through these motions. But now I find myself sitting there and flicking through and looking at cookery books that I haven't opened in years, you know, and thinking, oh, actually, I haven't thought of that. I'll try, you know.
How wonderful.
You know, which is this kind of re-inspired, refreshed, what I want to try.
That's what I'm here for. I love it. Honestly, I absolutely, and you're not the only one, but the in your particular journey before, during the class and after, I mean, also inspired me. It's like this mutual thing kind of going on, because it makes me want to do more of that for more people. I mean, when you joined, as you say, you didn't know what to expect, and I've mentioned the word a couple of times to people, and that's what I do. I'm a cooking coach. And people have always looked at me quite strangely going, "What is that? What?" How would you describe what cooking coaching has done for you?
I think it is more about that kind of refreshing your cooking experience. I've always loved cooking, so to a certain extent that can be parked, you know, because I have always enjoyed cooking. But I think that there does come a time when that pressure is on every day, when you're working full time and you've got kids, and there is a danger you do get kind of stuck in a rut, and finding something, you know, the pressure of cooking three things, you know, 3 times a day, coming up with something different, you lose your mojo.
Yeah.
You lose your excitement for it.
Yeah.
And I think that just coming to do something like this with a cooking coach. I mean, yes, you get recipes, but it also just refreshes your inspiration, and kind of makes you want to cook rather than I have to cook.
That's a big thing, isn't it? That's a big thing to really find that, as you say, mojo and enjoyment. And in your case, recreating or at least exploring the food memories from your childhood, and you're now doing it for Natty, for your son. You have now, with I Am Small as an example, you are creating new food memories for him. He'll remember that one. His friends will remember that one. That's exciting. That suddenly then becomes something where you say, oh, well, that actually worked. Okay, the Prophetess didn't, but we know what you need to do next time. And
Absolutely.
Even that, you were cooking with him.
Yeah.
And that's another food experience he'll never forget, the flat Prophetess, right?
And it's the trips as well. So I am now the proud owner also of a Prophetess pan.
Oh, go girl.
Works on induction as well. And like one of the tips that you gave was about, how do you get all the little Prophetess holes filled up quickly? And it was using a squeezy bottle.
Yep.
Oh my God, so much easier. You just literally go around.
Yep. Right.
Little things like that.
Little tips. That's what I'm here for. I love it. And I hope that you're going to create more recipes, maybe from, as you say, your Spanish childhood, and and be able to explore that. I mean, you and I we met years and years ago at an airport in Malaga, didn't we?
We did. We
did.
We both signed up to a week's boot camp.
We did. Back then,
torture.
We were both health and fitness Duracell bunnies, and look at us now.
Well, the problem we went on that boot camp is they didn't actually feed us foodies. They were terrible.
Yeah, it was hard. It was extra hard for us foodies, but yeah, I miss traveling. I miss foodie travels. Yeah, as we all do. I've had only one foodie travel this year, and actually that's what tomorrow's story is about. I went to Budapest, and the person I met there is going to join us from Hungary tomorrow, actually. So that's going to be about foodie travels. Hoping that comes back soon. Abby, it's been a delight. It's been an absolute delight to have you on board. When this is all over, we will meet again. We will not go to a boot camp in Spain, but we will have food, we will have wine, and we will continue this wonderful foodie friendship. Thank you so much for coming on today.